Hi, I'm Dr. Jolene Kinser, and I'm glad you're here. I'm ready to journey with you a little more through Changing Normal today. We're going to be walking through a section called Getting the Salt Isn't Working in Chapter 1. Some of us don't rely on words at all when we know we've messed up. Instead of saying, I'm sorry, we do something kind. We help out. We bring a gift. We get the salt. The phrase getting the salt is the term that I use for an action-only apology, and it comes from a story that I'm going to share with you. Liu Haifeng told me, if you and I have a conflict and it seems that I'm in the wrong, I will proactively help you with something to apologize, but I'll never say, I'm sorry. For example, if I see my older sister cooking and we'd been in a conflict where I was in the wrong, I would apologize by saying, does that need a little salt? I'll get the salt for you. Then I would check her expression. If her face still looked dark, if she didn't look at me at all, or if she said, go away, then I knew things hadn't blown over yet. But if her expression was somewhat warm, friendly, and demonstrating goodwill, then I knew that things had returned to a good enough place relationally. Wow, when Liu Haifeng shared this example with me, I was so intrigued, and I asked him, does this method really work? Does it really mend the relationship? And he laughed and he replied, he said, it has a little bit of an effect because in our environment, everyone behaves that way. But then he went on to say that this type of apology doesn't resolve the problems. He said, even though we say that we've forgotten about the situation, in fact, no one has forgotten about it. We just aren't willing to mention it again. But the next time we run into the same thing, we'll argue again. Not only that, when we argue, we'll bring up the details from the previous time. So, for many of us, this action-only, getting the salt type of apology is what was modeled to us as we grew up. It's the only type of apology we've seen. But as Liu Haifeng said, it doesn't actually address any of the underlying issues that are present. To be fair, actions are extremely meaningful. They can express care, humility, a desire to restore connection. But when actions replace honest conversation, they often fall short. The person on the receiving end may appreciate the kindness, but still feel confused, unheard, or dismissed. The hurt hasn't been named. The impact hasn't been acknowledged. And in some cases, these gestures even feel manipulative, like a way to bypass accountability while still appearing remorseful. True reconciliation requires more than symbolic acts. It requires naming what happened, understanding how it affected the other person, and taking responsibility for our actions. So I'm curious, when you know that you're in the wrong, do you tend to get the salt? I invite you to ask God to show you where you've been using actions to convey acknowledgement of your mistake or even a sin, but conversation is actually needed for the healing of the relationship at the heart level. See you next time.